Good morning, everybody. Excellent. Good job. It's really good to hear back from you. And I'm really happy to hear that we're going to be meeting again in person pretty soon and we'll get to see each other. So, here's what I wanted to do. Normally on the children's story, I tell you a story, but today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to talk about stories. What is a story? What makes a story good? But most importantly, what is your favorite kind of story? You go ahead and think about that because I want to share with you some of my favorite types of stories. Now, there's lots and lots of different types of stories. There's stories of adventure, there's all kinds of things. Adventure stories take place in all kinds of places. It's one of the reasons I really love a good adventure story. One of the cool places an adventure story can take place? Right in outer space. Think about it. Stories like Star Wars, and you've got all kinds of things that take place in outer space. They take you to a whole different place for your imagination just to go crazy. It's so much fun, and I really like them, and I think a lot of you guys do too. But there's all kinds of adventure stories too. Adventure stories can take you up in the mountains, right? You can go on a big hike, you can climb, you can go where it's cold, you can go where it's hot. There's all kinds of things you could do with adventure stories. You know that one of the types of adventure stories that I really like, especially, is comic books. I like superhero stories a lot. I love Spider-Man and all of the stories that go along with them. And all of those in the comic books are just usually adventure stories too, just like Star Wars and all those other things. But there's all kinds of other stories that I like too. I don't like just that kind of stuff where you just use your imagination and things like that. I love true stories. I love to read about somebody's life and where they came from, what made them the person that they are. I like nature stories a lot too. I love to read about animals and other parts of the world and the pictures that go along with those stories as well. You like these elephants? I do. I think they're pretty cool. Adventure story, or excuse me, those kind of stories, real true stories, they can take place in all kinds of places too. You can take place under the water, where you can hang out with Nemo. Hi, Nemo. You could take place hanging out with a tortoise. Check that guy out. Where is he? I'm in his way. Oh, there he is. They take place in all kinds of places too. You know, one particular kind of story, don't get sleepy on me now, is a bedtime story. Woo! Now, bedtime stories have to be really a special kind of story, right? You probably don't want to listen to an adventure story at bedtime because you're going to be up all night wondering what happened if you don't finish it. Bedtime stories, those are to help you sleep, to make things more peaceful for you so you can get some good rest. A good bedtime story usually has a happy ending. It's pretty quick, but oh man, I like a good bedtime story right before I go to sleep. It really helps me relax. We're going to go hang out right now in a place that helps me relax too while we finish up our children's story. Let's hang out at the beach. This seems like a cool place to hang out in the wintertime. Don't you agree? So, you know a book that we talk about all the time. It's no surprise. Some of you are already saying it right now. The Bible. Did you know the Bible has all kinds of stories inside of it? All the stories that we talked about, and even more stories. But it has adventure stories like David and Goliath, Samson, all kinds of things that happen in the Bible that are adventurous. There's all kinds of nature stories like Noah's Ark. Think about that. Think about all those animals. That's a really cool nature story. There's all kinds of stories, and there's true stories in there too. Of course, they're all true, but there's specific true stories about certain people. One of those people, of course, is Jesus. Think about this. The whole New Testament is a story about Jesus's life. Talks about how he was born, where he was born, what he did, who he was, the people he met later when he was older, the people that he influenced the things that all the good things that he did, and even talks about his death. It's a complete story of Jesus's life. There's all kinds of cool stories in the Bible. So when you're reading them, I want you to really enjoy those stories, to really think about them. Now, a lot of times a story is trying to give you a lesson. We just finished talking about parables. Do you remember that? We talked about a lot of different parables. We talked about the Good Samaritan. We talked about the prodigal son. There's some really cool stories in there too with the parables. Those are all throughout the New Testament that Jesus tells to people. And he tells those stories to help people try to understand that there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And that really is a huge part of the Bible. The Bible's a guidebook for us. But you know, one of the coolest things about the Bible is God's story too. The whole thing, from beginning to end. It's God's way of communicating with us. It's God's way of talking to us. He's telling a whole big story and making it easier for us to really get to know him. Now, if you stick around and you listen to Pastor Smokey here in just a minute, you're going to hear him talk to the mom and dad and the other grown-ups about how the Bible is one big story about one special thing. I'm not going to spoil it for you because I don't like spoilers in my story, but Pastor Smokey's going to talk about that here in just a minute. I hope you enjoyed our story about stories today, and I hope you enjoyed the little tour we took. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody real soon. Thanks for hanging out with me a little bit today. Have a great day. Bye.